Hello mathematicians, here is the video for home connections 95, 96, and 97. Though it seems like it would be 3 pages of work, it's really only 2 pages of work because page 95 is just some vocabulary words that we have talked about and will continue to talk about. So feel free to refer back to page 95 if needed while you do 96 and 97. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at page 96. 96 says to draw 2 examples of each one. The first one says to draw parallel lines. Lines mean that they need to have arrows because lines go on and on forever in both directions. And parallel means they need to be going in the same direction. So that way they're always the same distance apart. Even if you were to extend them, they would never ever cross because they're always the same distance apart going in the same direction. All right, so you could draw some horizontally or you could draw some diagonally like I am. So make sure that they're lines and make sure that they're always the same distance apart. And that's what parallel means. All right, moving on to some more lines, but this time we need to make them perpendicular. Perpendicular means they will cross, and they have to cross in a very specific way. They have to cross at a perfect 90-degree angle. And just having one little square there in the corner is fine. If one quadrant, one section is 90 degrees, that means they all are. All right, so perpendicular means, let's see if I can draw it in a slightly different way here, means that they cross, and they cross in a very specific way. They have to cross at a perfect 90-degree angle, perpendicular. All right, speaking of a perfect right angle, let's draw some specific right angles. All right, a right angle means 90 degrees, and you could draw it with line segments like I did, or you could draw it with rays. A ray goes on and on forever in both directions. So you could have arrows or no arrows, as long as the 2 line segments or the 2 rays cross and meet at a perfect 90-degree angle. All right, obtuse angles are more than 90 degrees. And again, your picture does not need to look just like mine, okay? All right, so here is an obtuse angle, and I always like putting an arc in so people know where to look. That arc sort of shows people where to look with their eyeballs. Okay, so that's an obtuse angle. And again, it does not have to look just like mine. Yours can totally look different. All right, so there are 2 line segments, but both of these, whether they're little rays or little line segments, are both meeting in an obtuse way, larger than 90 degrees. Smaller than 90 degrees would be an acute angle. And I always feel like it looks like 2 hands about ready to high five, right? They're like a little bit closer together. Okay, throw an arc in there. And again, your angles do not have to look just like mine. As long as you are drawing acute angles with line segments or rays and the angle is an acute angle, you're good to go. So these are just some examples. All right, last page, page 97, here we go. It says draw at least one shape that matches each description. For each shape, use arrows and words to show kind of what you've done. I love that you have to sort of label everything. I think that's a great addition. Letter A says a quadrilateral. So don't forget, quadrilateral means let's meet at the quad, which means 4 sides, right? Quadruplets, how many babies? 4. So we need to draw something with 4 sides, and it needs to have 1 pair of parallel sides. I think I'm going to draw a trapezoid. And the reason I'm going to draw a trapezoid is literally a 4-sided shape with 1 pair of parallel sides. That's the definition of it. So I'm going to draw this kind of a trapezoid. You could draw more of a classic trapezoid if you want, but we definitely need to label it. So we want to label maybe that it's a quad. So I'm going to write that it has 4 sides, which means it's a quad. And you could draw, if you wanted, an arrow to all 4 sides, okay, to show that it's a quad. And we also want to show that it has 1 pair of parallel sides, 1 pair of parallel sides. And in my trapezoid, the one that I did, this one and this one are parallel to each other, right? They're going in that same direction. So I'm going to go ahead and draw an arrow to that side and to that side. The left and the right, you could tell that they would eventually run into each other. All right, moving on. Letter B. Letter B is a pentagon with exactly, okay, pentagon. Hold on, let me start there. A pentagon means it has 5 sides, and it's got to have one right angle and one acute angle. I had a hard time drawing this, I remember, the last time I made a video. So if you have a hard time drawing this, that's okay. I had to really work on making as many angles obtuse as I could, so that way only one was right and one was acute. So let me think here. Maybe I'll start with a right angle, maybe. Okay, so that takes care of the right angle. And then I need one acute angle. Let's see, let's make this an obtuse angle. I think this will work. Okay, I think that will work. And here, let me label it, first of all. So we're going to label that it's a 5-sided shape. So 5 sides, which means it's a pentagon. Right? And you can see all 5 of those sides. I think it might get a little messy if I draw too many arrows. I'll come back to that. Maybe I will draw all the arrows. But I definitely want to show that it has one right angle. And I'm going to draw an arrow to it. Here's my one right angle. And it has one acute angle, which is right here. And all of the other angles are obtuse. Obtuse, obtuse, obtuse. So that was the key, is trying to make all the other angles obtuse. So that way there's one right and one acute. All right, let's go ahead. I think I can do this and draw angles or arrows to all 5 of my sides. 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Moving on, letter C, a hexagon. A hexagon means that it has 6 sides. Hexagon has an X in it, just like the number 6 has an X in it. A hexagon with exactly one pair of perpendicular sides. Okay, so maybe, let's see, one pair of perpendicular sides. Okay, perpendicular means that it has to have a right angle. So let's do a right angle. That makes that side and that side perpendicular to each other. And then I just need to make sure everything else is kind of funky looking, so nothing else is perpendicular. So we've got 2 sides, 3, 4, 5. That one might be 3, 4, 5, 6. And I don't think any of those are perpendicular to each other. All right, so we've got 6 sides, which means it's a hexagon. And then we've got one pair of perpendicular sides. And those perpendicular sides are here and here, and they meet at a right angle. All right, finally, letter D, a hexagon, so 6 sides again, with one pair of parallel sides. So I'm going to start with the parallel sides, I think. This is parallel to this, and then I just need everything else to not be parallel. So I'm going to make these kind of funky. How about like that? Yeah, I think so. All right, so we've got 6 sides to show that it's a hexagon. And then we've got one pair of parallel sides. And these are just examples. Yours can look a little bit different, okay? So there's a parallel side, and there's a parallel side. All right, let's take a look at page 96, the first page you had to do something on. And these are just examples. And page 97. To to the top here. All right, kids. I will see you in class.